Good morning everybody and welcome back to episode 58 of Open Crypto, where we keep you informed on a bi-daily basis. If you're interested in keeping fully up to date on all things crypto, then subscribe to the channel. We put out a new video every 12 hours. So the story this morning is from a website called Crypto News, and it's written by Frederick Vold, and it's titled "Investors Not Satisfied with Binance's Proof of Reserves Audit. Next exchange to collapse." So we've got a bit of FUD here. Anyone who's not familiar with what FUD is, we use a lot of abbreviations in crypto, and FUD is just basically short for fear, uncertainty and doubt. So to spread FUD is to spread fear, uncertainty and doubt, and it's basically like kind of starting rumours that are usually not true, but you're trying to get to panic people and upset them for no real good reason. So there's always a question, is it FUD or is it not FUD? Meaning, is it just rumour designed to make everybody panic and worry, or is it real bad news? So Binance's proof of reserves audit has already raised red flags, with some experts claiming it is far from enough to satisfy worried users. The so-called Proof of Reserves report was released on December the 7th in the form of a 5-page PDF document prepared by the global accounting firm Mazars' South African branch. The report was based purely on an agreed-upon procedures engagement and is therefore limited in scope. The report showed that Binance's Bitcoin reserves have a 101% collateralization ratio, suggesting that the exchange has more than all of the Bitcoin it needs to cover customers' deposits, which is good. Binance is a private company, or rather a large group of companies operating under the Binance brand, and is therefore not required to publish audited financial statements. It has also never indicated that it plans to do so, which is already worrying. If you're solvent, if you've got enough money to cover everything, to cover users, why wouldn't you just publish your balance sheet? Why wouldn't you just publish that information and that data on, say, a monthly basis, or even a 6 monthly basis? You could do it, just so it put people's minds at ease, and it would be good for the exchange, because they could command more trust, and it would be good for users because now they wouldn't need to worry. They would know that the exchange is solvent and that everything that anybody said about Binance was FUD when it came to stuff like this. According to accounting and finance experts, the Wall Street Journal spoke with the information Binance has so far provided will not be enough to satisfy users. I can't imagine it answers all the questions an investor would have about the sufficiency of collateralization, said Doug Carmichael, an accounting professor at New York's Baruch College. Carmichael, who is also a former chief auditor of the US Public Company Accounting Oversight Board, added that the report said its purpose was to show customers that the digital assets covered in the report are collateralized, exist on the blockchain, and are under the control of Binance. And one thing in crypto, we rely on the blockchain. For example, if a public company, say Coinbase or Walmart, or Apple, one of your big boys, your big companies, if they don't post what their assets and liabilities on a 30-day rolling basis, they will be either fined, or if it's really bad, they can end up getting charged, and all kinds of stuff. There's all kind of punishments that regulators come up with to make sure that those companies adhere to the law, to the regulations. But in crypto, we don't have any laws yet. It's too new. This technology is in its infancy, and so there just isn't any regulation. There's nobody telling any of the companies what they can and cannot do, because we're kind of operating in this outside. It's like its own little jurisdiction of the wild west, where there are no rules. So for us now as users, for us to trust an exchange, we have to know that the money is physically there, so we can look on the blockchain and see that it's there. I can look on the blockchain and see how much Binance has got, or should be able to. They can prove it to me very easily. If they wanted to, they could just show me their Binance address that would show me how much Bitcoin they've got in. They could give me their Ethereum address, and it would show me how much Ethereum they've got in it, and it'd be very easy to prove it. And I would be satisfied because it's on the blockchain. I don't need to trust anybody anymore. I don't need to. Whereas in the legacy world, there is punishments So they're incentivized to obviously obey the law. There is no law in this world, and so there is no incentive. There's no incentive for them to prove to me, other than trying to get my trust, which sometimes that isn't enough to get them to behave themselves and be a good actor. So the question for users like me in crypto just constantly comes up. You need to prove it. You need to give us those Binance addresses, or you need to show us those Merkle tree offshoots, and show us what have you got. And if you don't do that, then there's just automatically going to be a question mark over that, and say, well, if you can't prove it, why, or you don't want to, why not? Why wouldn't you? If you are collateralized, or you're putting in your tweets, and the CEO of a particular exchange, you say we're over collateralized, even they'll say, well, fine, prove it. If that's the case, you would have no problem whatsoever proving it, but they don't. And so it's just nobody, especially given what's happened to FTX and what's happened to other exchanges and all the other companies going under in crypto recently. So when I say recently, this year, it's just too many question marks, and people are worried. And so if they don't come up and they don't show us, there's been plans of having a real big bank run on Binance to see if they do have that money. So, for example, on Reddit and on Twitter, there's lots of, especially on Reddit, there's lots of users like me and like everybody else, your average person, saying, let's get together, let's on, say, for example, the 10th of January, let's all just withdraw all our money on the 10th and see what happens. Let's see if they can cope with everything that we throw at them, and let's take all our money. And if they can't, then it's obvious that they don't have the money. They don't have them funds ready and waiting for us to take off. So it means they're not solvent. The assets are not liquid, and they're not telling the truth about everything that they say that they have. But on the other hand, if you do that, let's say we all did that on the 10th of January, would we be shooting ourselves in the foot? Because that is then gonna, let's say that Binance are not solvent, and let's say that they have the assets but they're not liquid and they can't service these withdrawals, then what's going to happen? We're going to have another FTX on our hands, and it's going to destroy, well, it's not going to destroy it, but it's going to force the price of everything, Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's going to be more FUD, and it's all going to it's all going to bring the price down, and we're going to be mocked even more for all this. So the question is, in my mind, is be careful what you wish for. You want to find out whether they're solvent or not, but I'm not sure if a bank run at this stage with everything that's gone on is the wisest thing to do, because maybe long term it is, but in the short term I can't see how it would be a good thing. But we'll see. I don't know if that's going to. I made that date up, by the way. I've no idea if it's even going to happen. But we'll see going forward. The article also pointed out that Mazars even wrote in it that it did not express an opinion or an assurance conclusion. This essentially means that the firm wasn't vouching for the numbers the Wall Street Journal wrote. Binance originally announced its proof of reserve system on November the 25th and used the term audit results to refer to the numbers. Please find the batch of audit results below. The snapshot was the 22nd of November, and so they had 764,000 Bitcoin, 16 million ETH, 280 million BEP2 tokens, and 23 million BEP20 tokens. So they're basically claiming that but the thing is as well, okay, so you've got a lot of Bitcoin, or you've got 100% of the Bitcoin. That's great. That's what you want to see, but they don't just hold Bitcoin. That's maybe 30 to 40. This is just a guess, but this could be like 30 to 40% of the exchange's reserves. In reality, they hold a huge amount of other tokens, and Ethereum's just one of them. But they've got Binance really do have a huge listing, a huge amount of listings for tokens. So there's really a huge amount of money. So, and they're not proving that. And so that's what worries me, is that they've come out and said, oh, well, we've got all the Bitcoin we're supposed to have, but what about all the other stuff? What about the other stuff? The majority, Bitcoin is not the, although it's their largest holding of any single cryptocurrency, it's by no means all of it. More information needed. Hal Schroeder, a former financial account standards board member who now teaches accounting at Rutgers University, told the Wall Street Journal that the proof of reserves report from Mazar has little use without more information about how Binance conducts its internal operations. We don't know how good Binance's systems are to liquidate assets to cover any margin loans, and we know in the US, even with all the good systems, banks have occasionally been caught off guard. In light of what we've seen in the Bahamas, I don't want to conclude that all the systems are that good, he added, referring to the now bankrupt Bahamas-based crypto exchange FTX. And Twitter users expressed concerns. On Twitter, some users also pointed to weaknesses with the Binance report. Among them was John Reed Stark, a veteran US Securities and Exchange Commission employee who founded the agency's Office of Internet Enforcement. Binance's Proof of Reserve report doesn't address effectiveness of internal financial controls, doesn't express an opinion of assurance conclusion, and doesn't vouch for the numbers. I worked at SEC enforcement for 18 plus years. This is how I define a red flag. So that's quite damning words there by somebody who obviously knows what he is talking about. He's worked for the SEC for a lot of years, and he's worked in the Office of Internet Enforcement, which is obviously some kind of loose link to crypto. So that's worrying. Replying to the tweet, none other than crypto exchange Kraken CEO Jesse Powell said that the most worrying part of the report is how it appears to be more of an attempt at proving collateral rather than proving reserves. Yeah, the collateral accounting trick is exactly how FTX played solvent as well, Powell said. Jesse Powell is really respected in the cryptocurrency, and he runs a centralized exchange called Kraken. He's the CEO, or I think he was the CEO. I don't think he's the CEO anymore. I think he stepped down, or he changed to a different position about 6 or 7 months ago. And he came up with the whole idea actually or he was the first to implement it anyway on a centralized exchange of having Merkle trees to prove that you had those assets in reserve. And so he used this exchange called Kraken to prove that. And so everybody knows on Kraken, I can actually go on Kraken and see, let's say if I've got 5 Bitcoin on Kraken, I can actually see that 5 Bitcoin. It's not just a number on a screen for me to just say, oh yeah, Chris, you've got 5 Bitcoin in your account. I can actually verify that using a Merkle tree to look on chain and see that 5 Bitcoin actually exists. It's in Kraken's control, obviously, but it exists there. And everybody can do that. Even your basic user like me can do that. You don't need to rely on anybody. Basically, you don't need any trust whatsoever. So it were a really good thing. So it can be done. So I don't know why Binance don't do it or take a leaf out of Jesse Powell's book. Well, I think I know why, but it's not. It wouldn't be in their interest to do that, I don't think, because I don't think everything is as it seems. Jesse Powell's replying, big red flag for me is that this seems to be more of an attempt to prove collateral rather than proving reserve. They even admit to be insolvent with regard to actual assets owed versus tokens controlled. The collateral accounting trick is exactly how FTX played solvent as well. And another thing that's interesting is when you ever, if you've ever tried to withdraw certain tokens, there's a token that I like called Monero, and it's a privacy it's basically centers around privacy. It's a privacy-focused cryptocurrency, and so it's basically mathematically impossible to trace this coin. So if I do a transaction, there's no way anyone can know that I've ever done it, only me and the receiver. But the receiver doesn't even know where it's come from. He can't trace it back to me and then look at my look how much Monero I've got in my account. Now, because it's such a useful tool like this, there is some suspicion by in the Monero community that Binance and FTX at the time when it was around were actually using Monero to move funds around so that nobody would know. We wouldn't know where it was going, moving into it and then moving out of it, and then it's kind of laundered money. And if you ever use Binance, you'll notice that quite often they suspend the withdrawal service for particular tokens like Monero. Monero is really common, but for other ones as well. And it always says that there's some kind of network update, meaning that basically the network the Monero network is upgrading, or that there's some kind of hard fork coming up, or something like that, and it's just not true. If you knew Monero, you know the coin, the cryptocurrency that you're dealing in, then you would just know that that's not true. So you think, well, why would they suspend withdrawals then? It don't make sense. And the thing is, it always comes back on. A few days later, they'll turn the withdrawals back on. You can withdraw your money again. So it don't really gather any. The FUD doesn't last, you know. And as soon as they suspend withdrawals, everyone goes, oh no, what's happening now? And then they turn it back on again a few days later. So you think the FUD doesn't stick, you know, it doesn't last. So, but it's just suspicious. It's just the kind of behaviour where you just think that it's just not good. So that's what I've got for you this morning, guys. Remember, everybody, to please subscribe to the channel, join our team, and we'll keep you updated on all things crypto every 12 hours. Smash the like button if you feel you got value from this video, and I'll see you all in 12 hours time.